everybody, welcome to my channel.
Natalie Wood was a luminous Hollywood actress whose life and career embodied both the glamour and tragedy often associated with classic American cinema. Early life and rise to fame. Born Natalie Zacharenko on July 20, 1938, in San Francisco, California, she was the daughter of Russian immigrant parents. Her screen name, Natalie Wood, was chosen by studio executives early in her career. A child actress from the age of 4, she gained early fame with Miracle on 34th Street, 1947, at just 8 years old, instantly capturing the public's affection. As she transitioned into adult roles, Wood successfully avoided the typecasting that often derails child stars. Her performance in Rebel Without a Cause, 1955, opposite James Dean earned her an Academy Award nomination and cemented her status as a rising dramatic actress. Career highlights. Wood starred in some of the most iconic films of the 1950s and 1960s, including West Side Story, 1961, as Maria, showcasing her emotional range, though her singing was dubbed. Splendor in the Grass, 1961, another Oscar-nominated role where she portrayed a young woman unraveling under social pressure and romantic heartbreak. Gypsy, 1962, and Love with the Proper Stranger, 1963, further demonstrated her versatility in both musical and dramatic roles. Her screen presence was notable for its mix of vulnerability, intelligence, and fiery intensity, qualities that made her particularly resonant with audiences during a time when Hollywood was beginning to explore deeper emotional and psychological territory in its characters. Personal life. Wood's personal life was the subject of widespread fascination. Her most famous and complex relationship was with actor Robert Wagner, whom she married twice, 1957 to 1962 and again in 1972 until her death. The couple was often seen as a golden pair of Hollywood romance. She also dated other high-profile figures, including Elvis Presley and Warren Beatty, and was known for her intelligence and deep introspection. Friends and colleagues described her as sensitive, witty, and perceptive, attributes she brought to her roles. Tragic death and legacy. Natalie Wood's life came to a mysterious and tragic end on November 29, 1981, at the age of 43. She drowned near Santa Catalina Island, California, during a weekend boat trip with Robert Wagner and actor Christopher Walken. The circumstances of her death remain unclear and have been the subject of speculation and investigation for decades. In 2011, the case was reopened, and in 2018, Wagner was named a person of interest by the LAPD, though no charges have been filed. Wood's legacy endures through her films and the mystique that surrounds her. She was a bridge between old Hollywood and the edgier, more emotionally raw cinema of the 1960s. Her performances remain influential, and her life story continues to fascinate generations of fans. Honors. Natalie Wood received 3 Golden Globe Awards, 3 Academy Award nominations, a posthumous Hollywood Walk of Fame star. Despite her untimely death, she left behind a powerful and lasting body of work that continues to be celebrated for its emotional depth and timeless charm. A star shaped by old Hollywood and new realism, Natalie Wood was uniquely poised between two cinematic worlds: the studio system's golden age and the emotionally complex realism of post-war American film. She symbolized not just a beautiful face, but a generational shift in how women were portrayed on screen, moving from passive objects to psychologically complex protagonists. Her dark eyes, expressive features, and commanding screen presence gave her the ability to communicate deep vulnerability, often without words. She had an instinctive grasp of what was happening below the surface of a character, whether it was the teenage angst of rebel without a cause, the repressed longing in Splendor in the Grass, or the quietly defiant spirit in Inside Daisy Clover. Clapperboard career and artistic growth. Natalie's filmography is notable not just for its hits, but for its bold choices. She was not afraid to tackle taboo subjects, sexual repression, mental illness, and class divisions, at a time when actresses were often boxed into limited roles. Key films, beyond the most famous. This Property is Condemned, 1966, a Tennessee Williams adaptation where she plays a dreamy, lonely young woman. Critics praised her rawness. Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, 1969, a satirical take on free love and modern marriage. This was a departure into comedy and social commentary. Inside Daisy Clover, 1965, a dark satire about Hollywood that mirrored aspects of Wood's own life. Her performance was both ironic and tragic. She also ventured into television and stage, and later in her career, looked to move into producing, one of the few female stars of her era to do so. Heartbreak. A private life under public scrutiny. Natalie Wood's private life was never truly her own. From adolescence, the press followed her romantic relationships as obsessively as her movies. She often described feeling like a commodity sold to the public. Despite this, she built deep and sincere relationships and was known for her loyalty to friends, especially other actresses, whom she supported emotionally and professionally. Her relationship with Robert Wagner was, by all accounts, intense, passionate, and tumultuous. Their love story, marriage, divorce, and remarriage, read like a Hollywood script. Friends described a combination of fierce devotion and personal pain. She also struggled with mental health, anxiety, and a lifelong fear of deep water, made all the more haunting by the nature of her death. Despite personal demons, she remained a professional, often pushing through private turmoil to deliver world-class performances. Dove death and lingering questions. On the night of November 28, 1981, Natalie was aboard her yacht, Splendor, with Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken. After a night of drinking and reported arguments, she vanished from the boat. Her body was found hours later floating in the Pacific Ocean. She was wearing a flannel nightgown, socks, and a down jacket. Initial reports ruled the death an accidental drowning, but her sister Lana Wood, the boat's captain Dennis Davern, and later investigators raised questions about the bruising on her body, the timing of events, and inconsistencies in witness accounts. The case remains one of the most mysterious unsolved stories in Hollywood, reigniting public interest every few years. In 2020, HBO aired Natalie Wood, What Remains Behind, a documentary produced by her daughter, Natasha Gregson Wagner, which sought to reclaim Natalie's legacy beyond the headlines. Rose's legacy and influence. Natalie Wood has inspired generations of actresses, including Winona Ryder, Jennifer Connelly, and Natalie Portman. More than just a tragic beauty, she remains a symbol of emotional honesty, ambition, and artistry. Her cultural legacy includes a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, tributes in songs, films, and novels, posthumous recognition as a feminist figure, one who fought for control over her image and roles. Wood was a trailblazer, a former child star who matured into a real artist. Balancing fame with vulnerability, grace with grit, she represents a lost era of Hollywood, yet her work remains fresh, aching, and relevant. The inner world of Natalie Wood. Despite her fame, Natalie Wood was a deeply private and introspective person. Those close to her often remarked on her duality, vivacious and charming in public, but thoughtful, analytical, and anxious in private. She read Russian literature, kept journals, and frequently questioned her own purpose and power in the industry. She was raised with a sense of fatalism, partly due to her mother, Maria, who was intensely superstitious and controlling. Natalie often spoke about a fear of water, which had plagued her since childhood and was eerily prophetic. Struggles. Fear of being controlled. From domineering stage parents to studio heads, Wood often found herself fighting for autonomy. Psychological trauma. Biographers suggest she experienced trauma as a child, including possible sexual abuse. Rumors persist, including a claim that a powerful Hollywood figure assaulted her as a teen. Identity conflict. Born Natalie Zacharenko, she felt caught between Russian roots and American stardom. She often expressed feeling like an outsider in Hollywood. Despite these struggles, she maintained remarkable professionalism and grace, never known for scandalous behavior, substance abuse, or cruelty. She was respected even by difficult directors and co-stars. Revolving hearts, relationships, and love life. Natalie's romantic life has been as mythologized as her film roles. She was attracted to sensitive, intelligent men, often those she saw as outsiders like herself. Robert Wagner, R.J., first married in 1957, divorced in 1962. Reunited and remarried in 1972, remaining together until her death. Their relationship was passionate and stormy, with long separations and emotional complexity. In interviews, Natalie called Wagner the love of my life, yet friends claimed the relationship was not without tension, especially surrounding jealousy and control. Warren Beatty. Wood's intense relationship with Beatty during the filming of Splendor in the Grass is legendary. It ended painfully, leaving a lifelong emotional scar. Beatty, then a rising star, was reportedly unfaithful and emotionally unavailable. Other notables: she briefly dated Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra, though those affairs were more symbolic than intimate. Her second husband, Richard Gregson, was a British producer. They had a daughter, Natasha, and separated after his infidelity. Wood was never frivolous about love. She once said, "The only time a woman really succeeds in changing a man is when he is a baby." Brain. Political and feminist views. Though not overtly political, Natalie Wood held progressive views. She supported civil rights and freedom of speech, backed independent filmmakers, and pushed for better roles for women. Was unafraid to confront sexism in Hollywood. She once left a studio film over its treatment of female characters. She also had strong friendships with other women in the industry, including Mark Crowley, a gay playwright and friend who credited her with giving him the confidence to write The Boys in the Band, a groundbreaking work in LGBTQ history. Calendar timeline. Natalie Wood's life and career. Year event 1938. Born Natalia Nikolaevna Zacharenko in San Francisco 1943. First uncredited film role at age 4 1947. Breakthrough in Miracle on 34th Street 1955. Rebel Without a Cause opposite James Dean 1957. Marries Robert Wagner 1961. Stars in West Side Story and Splendor in the Grass. Oscar nomination 1962. Divorces Wagner 1969. Marries Richard Gregson 1970. Daughter Natasha born 1972. Divorces Gregson. Remarries Wagner 1979. Appears in sci-fi film Meteor 1981. Dies tragically by drowning at age 43. 2011 case reopened by Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department 2020. Natalie Wood. What Remains Behind released on HBO. Hibiscus Enduring Legacy. Natalie Wood is now regarded as a bridge between old and new Hollywood, a trailblazer for women in film, a symbol of lost innocence and unrealized potential. Her influence can be felt in actresses like Winona Ryder, who cited her as a role model, Jennifer Connelly, who shares Wood's mix of beauty and quiet intensity, Natalie Portman, named after her, who embodies similar intelligence and grace. She was also a style icon, whose fashion sense helped define 1960s glamour, graceful, bold, and modern. Acting technique and screen presence. Natalie Wood wasn't a method actor in the strict sense, but she absorbed key elements from the method, especially during her time at the Actors Studio. She studied under Lee Strasberg, which sharpened her emotional range and helped her transition into mature, complex roles. What made her acting unique? Emotional authenticity. She didn't perform emotions, she lived them on screen. Whether it was heartbreak, shame, desire, or confusion, it felt organic. Subtle vulnerability. Wood mastered the silent breakdown scenes where she conveyed turmoil with just her eyes or a tremble in her voice. Duality. She could play both fragile and resilient within the same scene. Reflecting the inner contradictions of real women. She was often drawn to roles that mirrored her personal struggles, identity crises, romantic idealism, mental health battles. Her most memorable performances feel hauntingly autobiographical. Glowing star. Her complex relationship with fame. Wood grew up under a microscope. Studio executives, gossip columnists, and even her own mother shaped her public image, often ignoring her inner life. Fame brought her privilege and protection, but also a lack of agency. The constructed Natalie. In public, she was elegant, cheerful, photogenic. In private, she described herself as filled with self-doubt and sometimes desperate to be understood. She hated being typecast and fought hard to be taken seriously beyond her beauty. She was among the first Hollywood women to publicly say she wanted to control her own roles, production choices, and career path, a stance that anticipated the feminist movements of the 70s and beyond. Family woman. Girl motherhood and family life. Natalie had 2 daughters. Natasha Gregson Wagner, with Richard Gregson, Courtney Wagner, with Robert Wagner. Wood was a devoted mother and fiercely protective of her daughters. She took a break from acting in the early 70s to raise Natasha and only returned when she felt emotionally ready. Her children recall her as warm, affectionate, and open about her career, but cautious about the dangers of Hollywood. Natalie and RJ's home life, despite its drama, was described by friends as deeply loving and sincere. Balance scale. The death investigation. Natalie's 1981 drowning is one of the most infamous Hollywood mysteries. The night she died, aboard the Splendor with Robert Wagner, Christopher Walken, and Captain Dennis Davern, heavy drinking and arguing were reported. Natalie's body was found in the water the next morning, with bruises and abrasions. Official cause: accidental drowning. But many questions remain. Ongoing mystery. In 2011, the case was reopened. In 2018, Wagner was named a person of interest, though he denies wrongdoing. Captain Davern claimed Wagner argued violently with Natalie the night she disappeared. Bruises on her body suggested possible foul play, but conclusive evidence has never emerged. Public reaction: some see it as a tragic accident. Others believe it's a cover-up influenced by Hollywood power and police reluctance. Her sister Lana Wood continues to call for a full investigation. TV modern reappraisal and cultural presence. HBO's What Remains Behind, 2020, produced by her daughter Natasha. This documentary shifts the focus from her death to her life and legacy. Features intimate interviews with family, friends, and co-stars. Offers a compassionate, feminist re-examination of Wood's choices, struggles, and achievements. Attempts to clear Wagner's name, a move that has been both praised and criticized. Pop culture homages referenced in songs, e.g., Lana Del Rey, Sufjan
Bye bye. Thanks for watching.